What's up, YouTube? Welcome to ExceedTheHype.com. It's your boy Lucrecio coming at you with another video, alright? Today's video is about why LeBron is going to win his 5th MVP this upcoming year. This upcoming 2017-2018 year will be the 5th MVP trophy for LeBron, alright? And this is why. So, this offseason has been filled with a whole lot of crazy stuff, right? A whole lot of star movement, a whole lot of player movement, a whole lot of trades, a whole lot of free agent signings, a whole lot of money being thrown around, a whole lot of stuff happening, right? We've seen one conference get a lot better, and then we've seen the other conference kind of taper off, get worse, or whatever. We've been hearing a lot of rumors about players on some teams trying to get traded to other teams, and I feel like all of this stuff is kind of coming together. And the ultimate result will be LeBron is going to win his 5th MVP this upcoming season, all right? And this is why. So, with Kyrie Irving's trade request to leave the Cavaliers and create his own team or be the leader of his own franchise or the face of his own franchise or whatever, I feel like it comes as sorry as I'm sure the Cavs are to hear about that or whatever. It's kind of an advantage forming because of it, right? Because typically the way the Cavs have been constructed or whatever, they're always up against the cap. The only players they can kind of get are like veteran minimum type players and things of that nature. It's not very often that you have $18 million to try to deal with, and that's exactly what's happening with Kyrie. They have $18 million that they can try to go out and trade for equal assets, right? Also, another thing to note about the way the Cavs are built, back when LeBron decided to leave Miami and come back to Cleveland, you have to think about who did he just lose to? He had just lost to the San Antonio Spurs. And I believe in his mind, he thought that the Spurs were going to be that team for the next couple of years that he would have to beat. So when he was thinking about the team to form or the team to join, and he was thinking about the Spurs, defeating the Spurs in the process. That's why Kyrie Irving appealed to him or whatever. He's somebody who gives the Spurs a lot of trouble. And then that's why Kevin Love appealed to him. Some big who could space the floor and open things up for LeBron to operate. They wouldn't be able to crowd the paint on him. So with all this in mind, they built the team, in my opinion, to dominate the league, but to beat that Spurs team, make sure they can beat that Spurs team in the finals. Now, what happened? When he actually went to Cleveland, that Spurs team was not as good, and that Warriors team ended up ascending beyond that Spurs team, right? This was not expected. I don't think LeBron actually thought about this, or I don't think the Cavs thought about that Warriors team coming with such force. Steve Kerr joining that team and being able to push them over the hump like that, right? So, with that being the case, the Cavs were built for San Antonio, not necessarily for the Warriors. But with Kyrie Irving wanting out of the Cavaliers, it gives them a chance to make the team more suitable for a matchup with the Warriors, right? So that's one reason. And a team more suited to beat the Warriors is ultimately going to be a better team in today's NBA. And that team is going to be built around LeBron more and not necessarily around both LeBron and Kyrie, all right? Because if you have both LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love, basically what you end up with is cheap three-point shooters, basically, to fill the gaps in between or whatever. Whereas now they have the opportunity to go out and get different types of players. The type of players I think that they will go out and get, I really think Phoenix is going to be the trade partner, or at least the main trade partner in this scenario. The reason why, Phoenix just has the best assets to trade for Kyrie Irving. Number one, if you're trading away a point guard and you got Derrick Rose there that you want to come off the bench as an energy guy and as a Jamal Crawford type buckets getter coming off the bench or whatever, you need a starting point guard to replace him. And I believe Eric Bledsoe is the guy that they are going to want to get to replace Kyrie Irving in the starting lineup. Now, Eric Bledsoe is not that expensive. The Phoenix Suns had been trying to trade him. They have a glut of point guards. They got a lot of point guards there that they want to try and see what's going on with. So Eric Bledsoe is not necessarily expensive, and he's not valued where Kyrie Irving is valued. That means the Suns have to give up more, right? So what is the more? The more It's probably going to include a first round pick for next year. That's part of the more, but that's still not enough, right? The next part of the more is going to end up being either Josh Jackson or Devin Booker. In my opinion, either way, you can't lose. With Devin Booker, you got a player who's already established, who can shoot threes, who will be an all-star immediately upon joining Cleveland. With Josh Jackson, you got somebody who LeBron can mentor, who would accept it. Somebody who's a tremendous athlete, somebody who I believe will be a lockdown type defender right away in the NBA. I don't think the curve will be that much. I think he'll be able to switch over to the best players and things of that nature, best wing players or whatever, by mid-season. So I don't think Josh Jackson has the goods, in my opinion. And then he's somebody who can attack off the dribble, and then he's somebody who I think will be a pretty good three-point shooter too. So Josh Jackson could, from that description, he could probably be the better piece, right? But anyway, either way, I feel like they win. Either way, they're building a team that fits better around LeBron, right? So because of that, they're going to rebuild the team, and because of the players that they may get from Phoenix or whatever they decide, it's going to be a better team built around LeBron that's more suitable to win than what they currently have. In my opinion, this is another reason he's going to win MVP, is that they're going to win over 60 games this season. If you look at the 3 seasons he's been in Cleveland so far, they've been around 50, mid-50s every year. In Miami, they had, I believe they had a couple seasons over 60. In Cleveland, the first time they had a couple seasons over 60, they hadn't gotten over 60 in this run, right? Because once again, I don't think the team is built exactly right to be a dominant team like that as far as a regular season team. And obviously they don't, and they also don't need to be that dominant in a regular season because they're in the Eastern Conference basically. So that's another factor there. So, but I believe adding the right pieces to this team, they'll be able to win over 60 games. Also, another reason I think he'll win MVP is what happened in the Western Conference. The Western Conference got a lot better. Minnesota got better. Oklahoma City got a lot better. San Antonio, they made a little bit of improvement, but San Antonio's always there for that number 2 seed. You had the Rockets, they added Chris Paul, they got better. These teams got better. There's a couple teams that fell out, Clippers, Utah, whatever, they're kind of going to be dropping out or whatever the case may be, unless the Clippers can find somebody to replace Chris Paul. But the teams at the top have changed, and also, more importantly, the teams at the top of the Western Conference are more suited to challenge the Warriors, right? So the West got better, and it's not going to be as easy for the Warriors to be able to get that 67, 70 games that they've been getting every year. It's not going to be as easy this year. Whereas in the Eastern Conference, it got easier, right? Because Jimmy Butler left, a lot of the other good players left. Gordon Hayward came over, but that's not going to be a big deal. The Celtics still won't be able to beat the Cavs, in my opinion. But a lot of the good players left the East and went to the West, and they're going to make life harder for Golden State, whereas life got a little bit easier for LeBron James. So another reason he's going to win over 60 games, and they're going to be a number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, which is another factor. When you're the number 1 seed and you have like a player with like the best stats and things of that nature, the best player on the best team, it gives you a good chance to win that MVP trophy. All right, and also let's talk about the opponents. The typical leaders of the MVP voting. Let's talk about James Harden. He lost last year. He was the runner-up to Russell Westbrook. I feel like the Rockets will lose a little bit of ground in the West. Not necessarily because they didn't improve. They absolutely did improve, but I don't know that they improved enough. If they get Carmelo, once again, it's a different conversation. If they get Carmelo and it works, they'll be really, really tough. But as constituted currently, I don't believe that they'll be a top 3 and maybe not even a top 4. I believe 4 or 5 is where they'll end up this year. Just because I believe OKC is going to be better. San Antonio is going to be number 2. And if San Antonio and OKC are 2 and 3, then that leaves Rockets battling with Minnesota for the 4th seed, right? So that's just how I see it. So I believe Harden will lose a little bit of ground, and therefore, will kind of fall, won't, be the MVP or whatever, because they won't be a #1 seed or that close. So let's talk about Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, I believe the seeding will improve for Russell Westbrook. They'll be #3 in the West. That's how I see it. But with the addition of Paul George, naturally Russell Westbrook is not going to have the dominant numbers that he had last year, which is the reason why he won the MVP. He's naturally not going to have a triple-double, but it's going to be tough to get that 30 and 11. All right, so that's another factor. All right, now let's talk about Steph and Kevin Durant. They're both going to have that 25 points that they've been getting, 25 points per game like they did last year. And because of that, even if they're the #1 seed in the Western Conference, I think they're going to have trouble. Either one of them is going to have trouble winning the MVP trophy. And then you have Kawhi Leonard. I personally picked Kawhi Leonard to be the runner-up this year. I believe he'll have a great season, and if the Spurs don't get any better, if they don't add another really high-volume piece or whatever, that he'll get his numbers and things of that nature. But I ultimately think they won't be the #1 seed. The Cavs probably will be a #1 seed. And ultimately, because of that, LeBron James might end up being the MVP. And that's what I think is ultimately going to happen. All right, let me know what you think about that. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree, or whatever the case may be. Do you think LeBron is going to win his 5th MVP? Do you think it's going to be somebody else like Curry, Durant, Russell Westbrook? Leave your comments and like the video if you enjoyed this video, okay? Subscribe. See you next time.